Hello and welcome to Fiction Fans, a podcast where we read books and other words too. I'm Lily.
And I'm Sarah, and I'm very pleased that today we are being joined by resident Warhammer expert in the family, Lily's husband, Danny, to talk about the infinite and the divine with us.
Hi, I'm Danny. Thank you for having me. I will be resident Warhammer guy.
That's just how I introduce you normally anyway, so it's nice that it's relevant now. Before we get into that, though, we have our 3 intro questions. First, what's something great that happened recently? Sarah, want to kick us off?
I baked scones this morning.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah, I have some extra buttermilk left over from the holidays, and I'm trying to use it up, so I've made 2 batches of buttermilk scones.
Anything in them, or just straight, pure?
The first batch was candied ginger and cranberries, and this batch is blueberry.
Yum.
And did you make like meadow cream or anything to go with them?
No, because that's effort.
Ah, fair enough.
Baking scones is effort. I don't think that argument works.
Yeah, but baking scones is like base level effort for making scones, not additional effort of, making cream or nice glaze or whatever.
Fair enough. Danny, how about you?
Am I allowed to have 2?
No, but you're not on very often, so we'll bend the rules.
Right.
Cheating.
Right. So the most recent one is that the Seahawks beat the 49ers soundly, so that was fun. But more importantly is that my wife's pregnant, and that's nice.
So you had a long-term and a short-term good thing.
Yeah.
I think we can make an allowance for that.
All right, excellent.
We'll allow it.
I almost said not allowed because you're bringing football into this, but this is already a Warhammer episode, so I don't think I can be a purist. Are there any football books that you can coerce us into reading next?
I would never. I wonder if Blood Bowl has... Okay, so Blood Bowl...
You take it back.
Well, it's the combination of football and Warhammer, so there might be a book out there for that, but I can't promise it's well written.
They're actually a combination football Warhammer thing.
That's Blood Bowl.
Yes, but it's Warhammer with football rules, not football where everyone is dressed up like Warhammer.
Yeah, it's true.
Which would have been
less fun.
Much cooler. Yeah, I was imagining like lingerie football, except it's cosplay football.
Oh, yeah, no.
You said it was Blood Bowl?
That's right.
Is that officially sanctioned by...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But it's under their fantasy branch, so I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say yet, but today we're looking at Warhammer 40k, which is in the future. Warhammer Fantasy is kind of their fantasy branch of it. It's debatably also in the future, but that's left up to, I don't know, the viewer.
And now this is ironic because the book that we just read is mostly spells and time magic. And you're telling me that is their non-fantasy version.
That's right. That's sci-fi, baby. That's math magic.
All right.
But I jumped ahead. I'm sorry.
What is everyone drinking? Oh, wait, no, my good thing. We went to a potluck yesterday, a soup-themed potluck. It was very nice. I ate way too much soup, but it was lovely.
Is there such a thing as way too much soup?
Yeah, because there were like 8-ish different soups, and I did not get a small enough bowl for each one. I think there were 2 that I didn't try. One of them was the one that we brought, and my excuse is we took the leftovers home, so I'll have it today. And then there were a couple vegetable stews, and I only had 2 out of the 3, and the last one I was like, I can't. I am simply full of too much soup. What is everyone drinking today?
I have a mystery black tea from China that my father brought over when he came to have lunch today.
What makes it a mystery?
Well, besides the fact that I can't read Chinese.
Ah.
I am assuming that it was given to him by our relatives there, but I don't actually know for sure. I don't know anything about this tea. He brought it over. He said he received it 6 months ago. It's in a box covered in Chinese characters.
Finally aged.
Yes.
A valuable gift. Which is a funny joke because we have a bunch of really cheap green tea that on the individual packets they say a valuable gift, which is it's really funny to imagine giving someone a single tea bag. I am drinking ginger beer. Danny's also drinking ginger beer.
You could argue I'm drinking Reed's ginger beer and you're drinking something else, and then, like gross people, we mix them together.
Yes, the Timber City ginger that I think I had a couple episodes ago that has the 0 sugar in it. And then Reed's ginger beer, which has too much sugar in it. So we mixed them together, and now it's probably the right amount, in my opinion.
Sounds delightful.
And has anyone read anything good lately? Extracurricular from podcast reading.
Am I allowed to say if I haven't finished the book yet?
Yeah, absolutely.
That counts as reading it.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. I'm working on Small Gods, I believe, from Terry Pratchett. And so I'm liking it so far. It's a totally different narrative voice. And I think Pratchett, I mean, this is the wrong audience to preach to, obviously, but Pratchett is harder to get into, I think, than a lot of authors. And so switching between the two has been interesting.
Yeah, he plays with prose a lot more in a way, whereas Rath's prose in The Infinite and the Divine was much more straightforward.
He started a paragraph with the third thing that you notice about a guy, and I normally read at night, and so I had to like double back and check and make sure that I didn't like zone out because, sleepy reading, and miss, in the previous 2 chapters whether or not he was I had missed those things, but no, he was just starting at 3 for no good reason. And I was like, all right.
Just making it complicated.
Yeah. But I'm liking it so far. I mean, I usually do.
I do think that Small Gods is one of his absolute bangers. I mean, they're all good, but...
No, there's definitely levels.
there are levels, but Small Gods is one of my favorites.
Well, I'm excited to finish it.
I have not done any extracurricular reading. In fact, I am behind on this week's podcast book, so...
Luckily, it's a novella.
Yeah.
I also have not done any reading up to and including this week's podcast book, so...
Yeah. Danny, you're beating us. Oh no. Not oh no. You're allowed to read more than me. It's just unusual.
Yeah.
All right. So, The Infinite and the Divine. We started our main conversation, or I should say original conversation with just Sarah and I, talking about how familiar we are with the Warhammer IP, because this is, of course, a novel set in the Warhammer universe. Warhammer 40k universe. Did everyone hear Bar just thunk onto the floor?
Oh, yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
He's a loud thunker.
Yeah. And our answers were varying degrees of 0, although I know a little bit just from eavesdropping on you, Danny, and your friends. Yeah.
I think that you have absolutely had more exposure to it, even if you haven't gone out and actively sought it out.
Yeah.
Whereas I have 0 knowledge, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Truly
starting
0.
to bleed through the cracks, I think, in a lot of social media and stuff. I think it's becoming more and more popular and widespread compared
mainstream.
Mainstream, if you will, compared to like 15 years ago. So,
I mean, I've at least heard of it. Like, I'm familiar with it as a franchise. I just didn't actually know anything about it.
I know, like, I definitely know, or I recognize the major faction names. I don't think I could list them all off in a vacuum. But, when you say Eldari, I'm like, okay, I kind of have an idea of what that is. Now, I can't, backwards engineer that when someone says, Sauropod Rider. I don't go, oh yeah, obviously that's an Eldari.
A sub-faction of the Eldari at that, yeah.
So, now Danny, what would you say your familiarity level is?
I mean, I haven't been reading a ton of their books, but I've been playing since 2000. So I've got 25 years of knowledge up in the brain, and I'll usually read, with each of the rule book releases, there's stories within them that you get to read, and then all of the codexes for your armies, there's stuff that you get to read. So I do read all the short stories in those, and those are kind of fun. And then 25 years of osmosis or learning.
Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that there was actual fun flavor text lore in the rule books.
So much. I'd argue of the maybe I'm going to get the number wrong, but I want to say 400 pages of the rule book, 75 to 80% of it is just lore.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's cool. But you mentioned codexes, and that's a rule book that is for a specific army.
Yeah, sorry, definitely. And so I started in 3rd edition, and we're up to 10th edition now, so I've got 7 different codexes of the Tyranids and, 7 different codexes of Space Marines, and they slowly evolve the narrative over time, and so about every edition they'll say, oh, something new happened and we're going to update some of the stories or introduce a new story, and they'll still have some of the old bangers from the originals in the codexes. But
so would you say that your knowledge is very heavily skewed towards specific factions? Like,
yes, definitely.
So you know more about the faction that you play than you know about the other factions?
100%, yes. I play in a group that's large enough that we cover most of the faction bases, and when we're playing, we'll ask each other questions about, like, oh, that's a weird name for that gun. What does it even do? And then they'll, tell us, oh, it de-atomizes you. And so I have some information on what, the Necron guns do or are versus the Tyranid guns that shoot seed pods that turn into big writhing, tentacle things that wither and die seconds after being fired. Everyone's got their own fun thing.
Just that right there was more description than I think in the entire novel.
I talk about atomizing in the novel.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of visual descriptions of things.
I did think that it kind of expected a certain level of base knowledge for what things did, and it didn't, like you said, it didn't really describe visually for those of us who are not familiar with.
That's unfortunate, and that was one of my worries going in, having not read it and then reading it kind of at the same time as you guys. I had my mom read one of their books a long time ago, The Last Chancers, which is about a penal colony of convicts that get one last chance at redemption by going on a secret mission to go do a thing that's almost certainly going to kill them. But if they survive, they, get to be reintegrated into society. And she hated it because there was no explanation at all for what anything was. Yeah.
I mean, so this is not the first book in the series. I don't know what number it is, but it's not the first. So I don't necessarily think that it's unreasonable for them to not provide some of that description and for them to assume that you are familiar with the thing.
Is the series chronological like that?
But is Infinite and the Divine part of a series?
Well, I just meant that, like, the Warhammer books, it wasn't
it's supposed to be a standalone,
but it wasn't published first, right? Like in terms of publication order.
Oh, not at all. No.
I think it's like Forgotten Realms, though, where, like, yeah, there's a lot of books, but that doesn't mean they're all, like, there's not, like, necessarily an order you have to read them in.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Yeah, but
it's a bunch of different authors, too.
It still expects a certain, like, level of familiarity. Like,
yes.
Why are you gonna go out and buy this book if you are not a fan of Warhammer 40k?
Because you're married to one.
Right. Obviously, we have reasons why.
Ulterior motives.
But my point is that I don't think it's unreasonable for the author to assume that someone reading this does have some kind of level of knowledge about what the guns do and
I guess it is a little disappointing, though.
I got similarly mad at the Firefly novelization, not novelization.
Tie-in.
That's tie-in. Thank you. For the exact same reason. Now, I did know, like, I had the background knowledge, so it was fine. But, I don't know. Writing a book that's only for existing fans feels unnecessarily limiting.
But why would not existing fans go out and buy it?
Because it's a good book.
And read it. I mean, yes, like, I did enjoy this. I'm just saying that you have to read it to know that you're going to enjoy it, and, like, you wouldn't necessarily pick it up just randomly.
Yeah. It's interesting with grimdark. We talked a little bit about this in our first conversation. How it has taken on its own life, it feels, although it was coined by Warhammer Universe. And what I associate with that genre or phrase, I did not actually feel applied to this novel much at all. Danny, now you coming at it from a Warhammer angle, did this book feel grimdark to you?
Well, I'm not sure I have enough knowledge or just reading books in general to understand the finer points between grimdark and I don't know, there's a whole spectrum, right, between the bright. Nope, I was going to try and I should have the graph up. There's a graph somewhere about the different levels of grimdark to noble bright and all that all that good jazz. But I mean, I think at least part of it is how quick, sudden, and okay with violence or death the books can be. And that's part of Grimdark, right, where it is just violence and war. And so I do think that it had quite a bit of that, even if it didn't make you feel bad at the end. It's still like, I'm not sure well, this is non-spoilers, huh? Hard to get into it non-spoilersy, but certainly bad stuff happens throughout this. Cataclysmic events even. So, I don't know. And is laissez-faire the right word, where they're just very, go about their day about it. So
yeah, I mean, I have thoughts, but they are kind of spoilery.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can talk about them.
We'll hold on to it. I think my final question for Danny is, have you played Warhammer since you started reading this book? I don't think so.
No, I only get to play maybe 3 times a year.
That's not true.
It's been a little more lately, which is nice. And then I figure with baby on the way, it's going to be a lot less for a bit.
That's true. Really, this is the extinction burst. You're getting it all in now.
Yeah.
Are you going to get baby into Warhammer 40k?
I think that's just going to happen. Yeah, for sure.
Are you kidding? Dad and all his cool friends hanging out and playing this game with, like, weird guns and stuff?
Yeah. Painting minis, spending a lot of time doing it. It's good. Mm-hmm. Will I let them paint my stuff? Ooh, good question. I don't know.
There are a couple dads in your group that play, and I think it sounds like there's the set aside, these are the pieces that my daughters are allowed to paint. These are the pieces that dad paints.
Yeah.
From what I've heard.
With the rise of 3D printing, though, we could definitely print up some oopsies, you can paint this, and see how that goes.
Yeah. Anyway, this is planning for not on the podcast. Well, we talked about who should read this book from, like, a general reader perspective. But Danny, in your opinion, for a Warhammer player, do you think that this book is more interesting for Necron players, or that it would appeal to anyone who is involved in Warhammer?
I think anyone. I don't want to get too into it, but I think initially, from the outside, you have a pretty narrow or limited view of how you view other factions. You have yours, and yours is always the coolest. Doesn't matter who you are or what you're playing. And then there's the other factions that are like, oh, those are just undead metal Terminators, and they're doing dumb stuff. Just being robots. But then, I mean, I think this book, at least, made me think about Necrons in a different way that are super interesting, just as far as character building goes. So for this one specifically, I think any person who plays Warhammer would like this book, for sure.
And how many, I know you said that you had read all of the rule books and things. How many of the actual novels have you read?
Very few. Basically just the Last Chancers in this one. Yeah, I haven't done the Horus Heresy, but that's like a 56-book slog that I'm not touching.
A lot of books.
There's various short stories that I've read, but that might be like part of other books, but I rarely go out and read full novels. I've done Grodic and Felix, which is, is that right? I don't know. There's a dwarf book, but that's part of the fantasy set. So, I hear Sif, I think.
Yeah. Listeners, the cats are running in between where Danny is recording and where I am recording, and they are causing a ruckus. It's pretty good. But so any Warhammer fan, do you think that would maybe be more interesting for a 40k player versus a fantasy player? Are there people who only play fantasy? It feels like 40k is the default, but maybe I have a biased impression.
I didn't even realize there wasn't there was a fantasy option.
Fantasy was first, and I think it was out 5 or 10 years before 40k started. And I think you might find people that like fantasy more, but I doubt you'd find too many people that are strictly one versus the other.
Yeah.
It's still probably 10% of the Warhammer playing population that might be only one. But
well, yeah, you can't speak for everyone. That's
yeah.
Warhammer players. And I mean, it is a good book. It just leaves you out to dry a little bit if you don't have some technical knowledge.
Not in a way that means you can't enjoy it. Like, I still enjoyed reading this book, but there were points where I felt my lack of knowledge.
The hindrance? Yeah, that's fair.
Not that I felt it was a hindrance, just that I felt...
You noticed it.
Yeah, I noticed that I didn't know a thing. and the book didn't try to make me know the thing.
I noticed it mostly, like I said, around descriptions of weapons and units, which I know is a name for a Warhammer, but it's one of the little dudes. Like, there were the Lich Guards. What came up a lot. And I was like, yes, that is a unit in Warhammer, I can tell.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to be cynical, but it felt a little bit, and I think this came out around the time that the Necrons got a range refresh, and so sometimes it feels like a book comes out to try to sell miniatures and be like, look how cool this guy is. Don't you think you want a few of them in your army?
Were there also, like, rules and game mechanics that you noticed in the book, or was it just...
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, kind of. Like the cloak things, I'm pretty sure... Well, I don't want to get into spoiler territory, but yeah, I think so.
Okay, let's get into spoilers so that we can actually answer these questions. This episode of Fiction Fans is brought to you by Solsticia.
That's our zine. Each issue has a different theme that celebrates genre and genre blending in a new way.
PDF and EPUB versions can be purchased on our website, and Patreon supporters of all levels get free digital copies.
You can find all the issues and more at patreon.com/fictionfanspod. Thank you for your support.
The remainder of this episode contains spoilers. So, Orican can control time, and Trazyn, maybe about halfway through the book, gets a cloak that lets him kind of counteract Orican's time manipulations and do it a little bit himself. Is that re-rolling?
I mean, it certainly could be, yeah. Warhammer's played with dice. You roll a lot of dice. I don't specifically know, because I don't have the Necron Codex, all of his stuff, but he does fucky stuff like that, so yes.
Can you actually play as Trazyn and Orican?
Yeah. Axel, my friend who plays Necrons, and why I know about them at least a little bit, usually uses both of them, I think, in his army.
Are they always rivals? I mean, I guess if you don't know that much about Necrons, you might not be able to answer this, but...
Well, if we're in the spoiler section, I think by the end they're kind of friends.
Well, but so that's my question, is because in this book, their relationship does evolve, right? And they do kind of become friends. And then we get this relationship reset at the end, almost, where they are each keeping secrets from each other about the things that they have taken from the final battle, or things they have gotten out of the final battle, and essentially kind of sort of planning on trying to kill the other again. And so it did feel like their relationship backslid. And for me as a reader, I was left wondering if that was just because of the way, because this is a tabletop game and the relationship between characters might be set in stone somewhat. I was wondering if that reset was because Trazyn and Orican are rivals in the rule set, and so you can't necessarily make that relationship evolve and stay evolved.
That's fair. No. Whenever something like that happens, they just go, oh, well, you were actually playing 10,000 years ago, and you make it work in your head.
Okay. So it just, yeah, that was just the book then, not due to constraints of the series or the format.
I still think there was space for the evolved relationship to be, now they're pulling each other's pigtails instead of genuinely trying to murder each other. Although that might be me coping and not actually on the page.
I don't think it's on the page. I think that we could have, if there was a second book about the relationship, we could see that. But I don't think that we get enough of their motivations at the very, very end to say that that's the case.
I would have liked 10 fewer pages of final fight and 10 more pages to establish that, like, the actual vibes of their relationship at the end. Because
yes.
I like that they kept it ambiguous enough. You knew that they still, wanted to screw each other over. You got enough in there.
Yeah, but do they still want to kiss?
Definitely. But they have no lips, but they must kiss.
They have mouths.
The real
though.
tragedy.
They can just mouth box.
There you go.
That's like pug kissing.
Well, you did say that everything was pugs, right?
Yeah, I did say that I was going to imagine everything as pugs.
And that's a lot of imagining going on because so many different words that, yes.
Yeah. So for the factions that we see the most, which I would say are the Necrons, of course, and the Eldari, we end up getting more descriptions of them over time. And I actually think the Eldari, well, I had pictures on the front for the Necrons, which, I'm going to be honest, helped. But we did get some descriptions of the Eldari, and so I was able to build a mental image in my head. For everything else, if I hadn't seen, like, Cody's Orc Army, or, you know, all of those hundreds of examples of miniatures for a visualization, I would have been completely lost. So I think what we call the cameos were much harder to follow.
Mm-hmm. And I mentioned this, but I think you guys had a fair amount of pushback as well, that if there's a proper noun that sounds like it's probably a thing, you can almost certainly Google it and see what the model looks like. But that's extra work that you shouldn't have to be doing, and they should do a little more work explaining it to you. But
I call that homework, and I shouldn't have to do homework to read a book.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually, maybe this is because I'm not a super visual person, I didn't mind that there was not a lot of description, like, that I can't necessarily visualize what a Lich Guard looks like or what their specific guns look like. That was fine for me. It was more where I felt a little lost was more when they would talk about, like, the Eldari Cataclysm and then just move on. Like, what was that? I don't know. It feels like I should know.
The Eldari Cataclysm now.
Yeah.
They needed footnotes to say, to learn more about this, read novel, blah, blah, blah. Those were the ones that I did end up asking Danny. I would ask, like, it kind of sounds like they're describing this. Am I getting that faction right? And then I would ask, is this thing, like the Eldari Cataclysm, like, is this the thing I have a vague idea about because I listen to you guys talk about stuff so much? And then I would say I was right maybe half of the time. No, my biggest issue was that the book introduces the dinosaur, like, lizard people, and then I just assumed that was a major faction. And I think for the first 20% of the book, every time a new person was introduced, I was convinced that they were a lizard. And Danny had to go, nope.
It's elves riding lizards. It's different.
Yeah.
The real bummer is that I think they've confirmed that the Exodites are basically never going to get a range of miniatures. So
Exodites.
Which one?
The Eldari Exodites. Those are the colonizers that the Eldar have that come to new worlds and do their thing. They kind of match whatever level the planet has. They're like the truest form of colonization, I guess, because they'll kind of try to mesh with whatever the current, civilization or planet has and not interfere with it. They kind of get into that where they're like, and then the humans came and the humans had the big smokestacks and the smokestacks started, destroying the atmosphere, and the orcs came and they drank all the water, where the Eldar kind of like mesh with whatever's currently there. And so the Exodites they're colonizers. And so the planet had dinosaurs, the Exodites rode the dinosaurs and kind of meshed in with whatever was currently existing there.
Instead of wiping out the native lizard population,
Exactly.
They coexisted with them.
Yeah.
So all of the Eldari that we saw were from the Exodite sub-faction of Eldari?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
But they're never going to get models, which is too bad. I mean, you can take the Warhammer fantasy stuff and put Eldar on them, which is what people do, but it's a little silly.
So did you have a mental image for most of the stuff? Like,
oh yeah,
I think orcs were the hardest for me.
That's interesting, because to me orcs feel like, well, okay, they are and aren't. It's weird, the portions of language that the different armies use to try and get you to understand. Necrodermis being the Necron's skin, Necron instead of dead, although they are still kind of dead. And then dermis for skin. I guess that makes sense. A lot of the orc stuff was just like, kill buzzsaw. And yeah, a buzzsaw is probably like a big saw that does killing. Or they've got a hunter-killer missile strapped to their back for them to do flying. And you go, well, hunter-killer, shooty-killy, and then missile, it's a rocket on his back. That makes sense too. But Slugga, that's going to be a little harder to understand, so that's a good point. Anything else there that were tough words for you now that you're done reading it?
I mean, Slugga wasn't, so correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Slugga just like related to slug, like a bullet kind of thing?
That's right, yeah. So it's a pistol, an orc pistol.
So like you can get there still.
But a
Yeah.
slugger is someone who punches. That was my confusion.
Well, it's a Slugga with an A at the end.
Yeah. But I definitely got like brawling versus guns all mixed up there, which I probably would have figured out eventually, but they didn't get enough page time for me to actually connect those dots, whereas some of the factions that we saw for longer did.
Well, orcs, they gave you some breadcrumbs, and then they come up like 3 times, I think.
Yeah. Like a couple.
Yeah.
Circling back to your point about grimdark. So for me, what made this feel not like grimdark is that even though, yes, you're right, there's a lot of cataclysmic stuff that happens.
The death of a planet.
Yeah, but none of it happens to our main characters. And they are not horribly grim and depressed about things that are going on. So, and I think for me, that's one of the differences. Like, the viewpoint was not everything sucks and we're all going to die. Even though, yes, like, this planet dies, lots of people die, civilizations die, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think because it's Necrons and they're deathless, so they live forever. Even if they die, they come back. Unless you're at the heart of this planet, apparently. They, I don't know, just have a different view on how everything works. So, is it not grimdark to have an attitude that the death of a planet doesn't matter? I mean, that feels, I don't know, pretty metal.
But, yeah, like, also, they would maybe care more about one of their own planets dying. I guess technically this was one of their own planets, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But clearly they only care about the tomb, right? They're like, yeah.
All the stuff on top is nothing.
And they do care about the stuff on top when it's the other guy destroying it, which was extremely hypocritical in a way that I thought was mostly funny, which is maybe also why this didn't strike me as grimdark, because I was just laughing at the characters for being so wrapped up in their own shit that they don't realize that their own actions have consequences.
What's kind of the fun thing about the character building with the Necrons that I was talking a little bit about earlier, in that they are all screwed up in some way, where, long story short, millenniums ago, a race of people traded their flesh bodies for metal bodies and then went into a big sleep for a long time. And throughout that big sleep, various things happened, like solar flares and stuff on the planets. And then, you know, throughout that, micro changes and stuff screwed up their personality matrices and stuff. And so you have all these turds of people walking around once they finally wake up. And I think that's pretty cool. You have all these interesting, terrible people that live forever. Yeah, I don't know. It just, I like that aspect a lot, and it made me relate to it a lot more, or to Necrons, to be able to be like, oh, these guys are interesting, and they're not just mindless killing machines. They're, you know, they've got these stupid personalities and all these social hierarchy things that they're still trying to play to while sucking.
Turd is the perfect way to describe them. And I loved how Rath made sure you know it.
Oh, right from the start. Yeah.
Yeah. There was no, like, gray area. And I compared this a little bit. I've brought up the Space Marines a couple of times in our first conversation, just because I feel like that is a lot of what pop culture at large sees about Warhammer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get the same impression?
Oh, for sure. The Space Marine drive all of their sales, so 90% of their new model releases are Space Marines, despite having, I don't know, like 13 factions at this point.
Is that a lot or a little of factions?
I'd argue it's a lot. It's a lot to maintain in balance, for sure.
Oh, sorry. So you're saying that out of all the 13 factions, they clearly have a favorite. Yeah.
Yes, 90% of everything is Space Marines, one of those 13. Yes.
So what I've noticed in pop culture conversations is sometimes people miss the fact that Space Marines are not good guys.
Yes.
And it really felt like Rath wanted to make sure that that did not happen with the characters in this book.
Yeah, he stole the heart of the Eldari people in the first 10 pages or whatever.
Yeah. And,
absolutely smashing their civilization.
And the prose does not make apologies for him. There's just like, that was a dick move. It doesn't quite say that on the page, but it practically does.
It basically does. So, Danny, talking about the cameos in this book, Lily and I were discussing in our previous conversation about how the final, like the climactic battle didn't have as much of an impact because we don't know these factions or these characters.
Yeah, I felt it was a little weird. Sorry, I'll let you finish your question. But yes.
Yeah, no, but that was my question. Like, as someone who is more familiar, did they have more of an impact, or did you sit there reading, going like, I don't know who some of these guys are?
Oh, I knew who all the guys were. I was excited reading it. This is only slightly tangentially related, but I was waiting to see who all would get introduced. And one of the factions I play is Genestealer Cult, so I was excited when they finally showed up. But I thought it detracted a little bit from some of the world building that they had already done, specifically the Astra Militarum or Imperial Guard, the humans that they showed up. Orican said during the final battle, Trazyn basically has Pokeballs, and they capture moments in time that he puts into a special museum, and he's able to release those at various points that he wants. And one of those that he captured was an Imperial Guard heavy weapons battalion or detachment. And the fact that Orican in the final battle was like, oh, good, they're here. I don't even need to worry about that. When these people are terrible bigots and don't respect the power of other civilizations, I thought it was weird that he would then be like, these guys are going to take care of it. These fleshy, stupid humans that we don't know or care about. Yeah. So it was a little
stroking the ego of people who play that subfaction, kind of.
I guess, yeah. And it felt wrong there because, I don't know, they would hold up against their mighty Necron technology fighting one of their gods. I don't know about that.
Especially for Orican, who proclaims earlier in the book that he just doesn't care about anyone besides the Necrons.
Exactly. So I don't know, that I didn't like that, but I understand, maybe that's just because this is my faction, that they had respect for the Tyranids, and the Tyranids going hard and doing big fighting, but then they were just maybe stroking my ego. But I think even other people would accept the Tyranids being weird, alien, and fast, that they'd go, oh yeah, okay, maybe, you can just kind of let that go over there and we don't have to touch that section. But yeah, I didn't like the Imperial Guard part, the humans.
I didn't realize, I think every time there was a new human on the page, I was like, is this one a Space Marine? What about this one? Is that one a Space Marine?
There was none Space Marines. Yeah.
None, but every human I was like, well, this one surely is a Space Marine.
Yeah.
There's even a maritime defense something, and I was like, oh, Marine? Maritime?
Yeah.
No. Still no. Okay, so Trazyn would freeze and capture these people, huge battle scenes, and then recreate them perfectly in his crazy psychopath museum. And I realized while I was reading it that reminded me so perfectly of the gorgeous dioramas that we saw at, is it actually called Warhammer World? That's not actually the name of it, is it?
That is the name of it.
Oh, great. But the Games Workshop headquarters when we had the chance to visit. And I was like, oh, Trazyn just is recreating all of these fun battle scenes exactly the way that the Games Workshop crafters did for their museum. That connection was fun and just kind of a little Easter egg almost.
They're very cool. Look up pictures or go if you're interested. But that's quite the trip just to look at some minis. So,
well, it depends on where a listener is from.
That's true.
It's in Nottingham?
Yeah. I think that's a great point and very accurate. I wonder how on purpose that was.
Well, and just even his comments about posing them perfectly gave me flashbacks to you. You have to glue the models together. They don't come always in one piece, right? And so you decide what pose they're in. Mm-hmm. And so Trazyn was building Warhammer minis. And that was maybe a little meta, but one of my favorite parts, or at least it made me connect with it. And maybe that's just because the most I interact with Warhammer is usually the crafting process, because that's what I tend to care more about.
I mean, that the artistry of it for sure.
Yeah. So it was either fighting or miniature building. Those were the two Warhammer aspects in this book. And surprising no one, I liked the miniature building more than the fighting. So did you have a favorite and or a least favorite moment in the book?
Well, my least favorite I kind of already went over, the Imperial Guard, and it kind of breaking the, the view that I had of Orkin.
Yeah.
Favorite moment, though, was, let's see.
Was it the Tyranids?
Well, kind of. The Genestealer cult uprising when it started, when they're in the Opera House, and Orkin turns to him, and he's like, dude, this is an uprising. What are we even doing here? And Trazyn says, it had really good reviews, though.
That was one of my favorite scenes, too. And I think because it wasn't just big fight. This person A shoots person B, person C shoots person D for 4 pages.
I mean, that did happen, though.
Well, yeah, eventually. But at the beginning, there was subterfuge. There was a plot happening in the background. It wasn't just big hits.
A creepy song. Ooh, did you guys already play it, by the way, for the podcast? Are you guys going to do that?
I did, yes.
Okay, excellent.
That's why I asked you to send me the link, because I could not for the life of me find it when we were recording.
Yeah. Oh, mentally, maybe this is more of a words or weird thing. How did you pronounce the name of the planet at the end? Did you just call it Sérénade? Sérénade?
Sérénade.
Yeah,
Sérénade? Yeah.
I said Sérénade.
But that's how I pronounce that word.
Yes,
Yeah.
same.
I could see someone with a different accent maybe pronouncing it differently, but I think that's...
Well, sure. But it's a fantasy name because it's the name of a planet, so I don't know. What about you guys? Least and most favorites?
One of my favorites was the Necron politics scene where the, temporary court, that's not what they call it. The temporary, leadership council
Yeah.
is trying to decide... This is pretty early on, actually, trying to decide if Trazyn and Orkin, or if Trazyn has... No, if Orkin stole from Trazyn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was... Trazyn accuses Orkin. And that's also when we first start to see... It's not the first time Orkin affects time, I don't think, but it's the first time that we get, many versions of the scene over and over again. And so that was really cool, just from a reading experience perspective. And also we get a lot of Orkin and Trazyn interacting, which is the highlight of the novel. Their bitchiness was so much fun, and it just doesn't come through when they're punching each other.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think, like you, that was one of my favorite scenes, just because I really liked... And we do see Orkin manipulate time, but previously. But here we get to see him, really committed to getting the right result. And it reminded me of save scumming in Baldur's Gate 3, which is something that I do constantly because I always want the exact right outcome. So I was like, you know what, Orkin, I get it. And also it was fun to see how his choices kept going wrong until they don't, until he finds the right one. But it's not just, he's not trying it with the same person over and over. He tries different people and different arguments, and because he hasn't actually thought anything out, he keeps getting tied up. They both do.
Oh,
really.
Shit. Can't do that. That
Yeah.
was both killed.
So I really enjoyed that. Least favorite scene, probably all of the fight scenes, just because there were a lot of them.
It's a lot of words you don't know.
It's not even that. I could handle that, but it's just, reading this book made me realize that I just don't care about protracted fight scenes. I can handle 1 or 2, but when they make up 85% of the book, I get a little tired of them.
That's fair.
There also wasn't something else going on at the same time.
Yeah, it was just fighting.
Yeah, and it's I know Trazyn's not going to get killed in this fight. It's not the end of the book yet.
Well, with Trazyn, he do get killed all the time.
Well, okay, but then he's going to come back. I think they were fight scenes with no consequences. So I was just like, I mean, I read them all, but I definitely zoned out on a couple of them, maybe a lot of them, and skimmed a little bit. And so I got to the end and was like, okay, what was the outcome here?
I mean, part of what's cool of that, for me anyway, especially with Trazen, is, I mean, that's character building, right? He doesn't have to fear consequences like that for doing those sorts of things. So he can be even more of an asshole or do whatever because he always has like a get out of jail free card. Mm-hmm. So, it both establishes that lore and then explains why he's so much of an ass.
Yes. So maybe that was a bad example, but I did have a favorite fight scene though, because I didn't hate all of them. The one where we find Counselor Quellic? And that might be a Galaxy Quest character.
Okay. I'd have to have the book in front of me.
Because sounds right. When they find he has become a sort of mutated creature down in the bowels of the planet. And so there's a fight scene with him there, but you're also discovering like there's some like who he is and what's going on. And so that kind of balance of, yes, there's action, but there's also plot progression, I was much more engaged.
It is indeed Quelka.
So yeah, my favorite fight scene was that one. And then also the one where Trazen buries Orican and thinks that Orican is dead for good. And he had put the like breadcrumbs so that he could teleport out, even though he usually can't. Because that was also kind of a turning point between them, and also when you start to see, I mean, we knew there was something hinky going on, but that's when you go, oh, there's something actually very, very wrong with this tomb.
Yeah.
So those were my two favorite fight scenes. My least favorite fight scene was definitely the climax of the novel, which is a bummer. That's supposed to be the most exciting and compelling part.
Well, it's kind of cool that he fights shards of a god that they killed, and they're the god killer people, so that's fun.
Yeah, that could have been 2 sentences. That right there was the cool part. It didn't need to be 50 pages. I'm not even exaggerating that much.
Yeah,
I
that's probably
liked it more if they had made me care more about, like if they had focused more on, this is a shard of the, gods who fucked everything up for you guys.
The betrayer?
They
the
just
deceiver.
Deceiver.
They just didn't go into that enough for me.
Yeah.
Talk about it a little bit at least. But
like they talk about it a little bit. Like you know it's a big deal, but you don't like. There's the implication at one point that Orican didn't want to give up his body and really fought against it, and also Trazen says that he did, and Orican says, no, you have my memories, and that's never really fully explained. And so I felt like there could have been more there.
True. Well, part of that is again, world building around the Necrons and how they have glitchy databanks. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, he was seeing Orican protest, got it confused that it was him because he was the one throwing Orican into the fires, which is, I don't know, that's fun world building to me.
That is, but they don't go into it at all.
Yeah.
I liked that moment, and I actually think Trazen handled that very well. He doesn't I don't know. I don't remember exactly his reaction, but he did something like, oh, I mean, it is possible I misremembered, and I'm very sorry that I did that to you. Like, no equivocating or trying to make excuses or anything. And I was like, oh, that's very emotionally mature, and I did not expect that from you, Trazen.
And let's be honest, people do that on their own with, I don't know, 20, 40 years of things that happened that long ago. And so these guys are, thousands upon thousands of years ago. I give them a break.
I want more of that, though. Talk to me about how unreliable their memories are. What are their safeguards and methods for preventing that or working around it? I wanted more of that instead of, here's half a paragraph and now we're going to go fight some guys.
Gotta fight some guys. It's Warhammer, baby.
Yeah.
Why did they realize, when did they realize that the deceiver was deceiving them, and why did they
what made it a deception?
Yeah, why did they rise up against him in the first place? And so why is it important that they fight him now?
That feels like Necron origin story.
Yeah, I wanted more Necron origin story.
Yeah,
in order to care more about the final fight.
It's possible, that I mix some of my pre-existing lore knowledge with, or using it to fill in the gaps that are upsetting you guys about it, and so I can totally see that.
And so that's a really interesting part where I know I don't know what those guns look like or what those vehicles do, and so I can just kind of accept, like, oh yeah, that's a missing piece of information. But this background knowledge and lore and emotional investment, like, I bet someone who plays Necrons and has Trazyn and Orican in their armies just has that built-in investment in everything that happens in this book that I simply don't have.
Yeah, and that's
For sure.
That's the bit that I felt was missing for me. Like, I don't care if I can't visualize something. Like, if everything's pugs, sure, that's fine. I don't care about that, because, like I said, I'm not necessarily a particularly visual reader to begin with, but feeling that emotional connection, having that background knowledge so I could fill in some of these gaps about why something was important, that's what felt like it was missing for me. Again, you don't really need it to enjoy the story. I enjoyed the book just fine. I had a great time reading it, but I think that I would have had a better time reading it if I had had more of a background in the Necrons and their history.
It made it a lot more surface level of an experience for me
than
I think it probably was for you, Danny, or another reader.
Yeah.
Well, my summary of my reading experience is that it was fun asking you questions and how excited you were for me to read this book. Do you have a favorite or least favorite question I asked you? Not that you were keeping track, so maybe that's an unfair question.
Yeah.
Was there something you were expecting Lily to ask you?
Ooh. No, nothing in particular, so that's not a very fun answer. All of it, really. Trying to see, well, I wanted to know, and you guys said, we just glaze over descriptions of stuff, but yeah.
I mean,
so it was going to be the descriptions, not of the fights, but of the things in the fights or stuff like that.
Yeah, all I need to know about a gun is that it shoots something. It doesn't matter whether it shoots bullets or lasers or
lightning.
It doesn't, pug heads. It doesn't matter. It shoots a gun.
You would care if a gun was shooting decapitated pug heads, Sarah. Don't even.
Well, but as far as I understand, if everything's pugs, then the pug heads shoot into guys that rips them into micro pugs. And so that's pretty cool.
It's not decapitated pug heads. These are the germs that grow into full-formed pugs.
I see.
Like an orc. There you go.
Yes. A fungus.
Well, did this make you want to read more Warhammer novels?
Me or you guys?
Us, the answer is split perfectly between no and I would read one with you.
Nice, yeah. Well, we have that orc one specifically, so I'm down to read that. And it was the split Sarah does not want anymore.
Well, so it's not that I would refuse to read more Warhammer novels, because I enjoyed this one. Like, if we're going to read another one for the podcast, sure, I would do that. I wouldn't argue against it or anything. It's just that because I am not particularly interested in Warhammer as a franchise, and I don't have anyone around me who is, I'm unlikely to go out and proactively read more. But I'm not refusing to read more.
You heard it here first. We're going to do a Horus Heresy.
All 60 books.
Live, yeah.
This is actually going to turn into a Warhammer podcast.
There we go.
I really did appreciate this book for allowing me to interact more with Warhammer without me having to play.
Well, there you go.
So,
it's a long game.
Yeah. I could probably read this book in the time it takes for you guys to play 2 games. So, in that sense, that was a huge benefit to me. And I mean, that's just, I appreciated it. I don't know if I would read more novels, but more lore. I bet there's just collections of lore out there.
Oh, yeah.
Almost might be more interesting.
I mean,
and the short stories.
Yeah.
I would go out and read the Wikipedia pages, maybe.
Yeah, I could see myself getting into a wiki hole.
There's also Warhammer-specific Wikipedias, of course, or multi-hour-long YouTube videos, if that's your
no,
fancy.
Absolutely not.
No.
But Yeah, all in all, I am very glad I read it, and enjoyable reading experience, although I can see gaps where it probably could have been more enjoyable for someone else.
So I'm curious, you guys are kind of more well-read than I am, certainly. I thought this was written pretty well. Did you think the prose and everything was up to par, or are you just being polite and humoring me for Warhammer book?
If any other book just said the name of a thing with absolutely no context for what that thing was, I would eviscerate it.
Yeah.
So that is a huge allowance I am giving to this book, because it is a tie-in novel for this other thing. The prose itself, I thought was fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not fine like in a acceptable. Like, it was well done.
Yeah, like I thought the prose was enjoyable. I am, like Lily said, giving it some leeway for some of the choices it made, or some of the choices that Rath made, but I think that's just related to it is a tie-in novel. 99.9% of the people reading this do have some of that background knowledge and don't need those gaps filled in like I do, because this book ultimately is not written for me. It's written for someone who is a Warhammer fan.
And someone who wants those fight scenes, because that's what Warhammer is. It's fight scenes.
If you glazed over the most grimdark part of the novel, is it really not grimdark?
I just, violence is not, to me anyway.
Violence is not the only thing that makes grimdark.
Certainly.
It's the pessimism. It's the there's no way out of this.
Yeah. It's the attitude as well.
Then you're going to want a novel from a human's perspective, not a Space Marine's, just some lowly grunt. And I'm sure there are some of those. But from God-killing immortal robots, you're probably not getting as much pessimism.
To specify, I'm not particularly a fan of grimdark. I was really glad that I opened this book and was like, oh, it's silly. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to enjoy this process.
Yeah, I do think that I enjoyed the book more because it was not grimdark.
Fair.
Yeah, I just think it was worth addressing, like, that is probably the big literary crossover, is the grimdark genre term being coined from this world. And so it was interesting to me how separate they were.
Yeah.
But I was grateful for that. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Fiction Fans.
Come disagree with us. We're on Blue Sky and Instagram at FictionFansPod. You can also email us at fictionfanspod@gmail.com or leave a comment on YouTube.
If you enjoyed the episode, please rate and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and follow us wherever your podcasts live.
We also have a Patreon where you can support us and find exclusive episodes and a lot of other nonsense.
Thanks again for listening, and may your villains always be defeated. Bye!
Bye.